Good evening, guys. Am I audible?
Yes, sir.
So listen. So today we are going to start the next chapter, that is thermal properties of matter. So till now, if you see, we were discussing only the properties of matter. The first chapter we discussed mechanical properties of solids. I'm talking about second volume. Okay. The first chapter that we discussed is mechanical properties of solids. The second part that we discussed were mechanical properties of fluids. Now we are going to discuss properties only, but now we are going to discuss about thermal properties of matter. Okay. So what is your understanding of this term thermal properties of matter? What does thermal mean? So thermal refers to heat, right? So you know the basic terms, that is heat and temperature, right? So we know what is the difference between heat and temperature. So what is it basically? Can someone tell me?
Heat is a form of energy, whereas temperature is a measure of hotness or coldness.
That's right. So heat is a form of energy which flows generally from higher temperature, from an object of higher temperature to an object of lower temperature. Basically, what does temperature mean? Temperature will tell us how hot or cold a particular object is, right? So they have given some examples. Let us read out what they are trying to say. So a kettle with a boiling water is hotter than a box containing ice, right? When they say boiling water, it is going to be at 100 degrees Celsius. And when they talk about ice, it is going to be at 0 degrees Celsius. So in physics, we need to define the notion of heat and temperature, etc. more carefully, right? So in this chapter, what are we going to learn? Heat, we will learn what heat is and how is it measured. So, and we'll study the various processes by which heat can be flown from one object to another. There is something called as conduction, convection, and radiation. So heat mainly, like we'll be discussing about how heat can be transferred from one object to another. Okay. So let me tell what are all the topics that are there. So it is an introduction to this chapter. To put it in very, very simple terms, we are going to take thermal properties of solids. That is how the thermal properties of matter. When I say matter, it can be solids, liquids, and gases. So we will mainly concentrate only on solids and liquids in this chapter. About gases, we'll be discussing in a chapter called as kinetic theory of gases. Okay, we will see how these substance, how this matter will respond to heat. Okay, we'll see the introduction. We'll be seeing the difference between temperature and heat and different ways of measuring temperature. Then we'll see the ideal gas equation and absolute temperature. Then we'll see thermal expansion. Then we'll see specific heat capacity, calorimetry, change of state, heat transfer, and Newton's law of cooling. So there are 10 subtopics that are there in this chapter. It's a very, very small chapter. Well, maximum completed by this week itself. Okay. Shall we get started? Any doubt?
No.
Okay. So I will just read out certain points as I have to explain them. Then I'll get into the context of wherever mathematical equations come in picture. So when we begin studying about the thermal properties of matter with definitions of temperature and heat, generally what does temperature means? Temperature is a relative measure. It gives an indication of hotness or coldness. So obviously, as we discussed, if you have two objects in your hand, you're going to touch and tell which one is hot and which one is going to be cold, depending on the relative measure or a comparative basis, right? Generally, when you take a hot utensil, it is said to have high temperature. An ice cube is said to be at lower temperature. So an object that has higher temperature than another object is said to be hotter. Okay, all these are basics. Note that hot and cold are relative terms like tall and short. Okay, they are very basic. I'm not getting into this. Okay, so generally when you talk about heat, what is heat? Heat is a form of energy which is transferred between two or more systems, right, by virtue of temperature difference. So you know what happens when there is a difference in temperature. Suppose there is a potential difference existing, guys. Then what will happen? The charges will start moving from higher to lower potential, the positive charges. In a similar way, if there is a temperature difference T1, T2, if T1 is greater than T2, then the heat will start flowing from the object with higher temperature to the one with the lower temperature. Okay. Next is measurement of temperature, which is very, very important. So, but before that, we have to see what is the SI unit of heat energy. So, what is the SI unit of heat energy? It is expressed in joule only, because heat, you are saying it is a form of energy. While the SI unit of temperature is going to be Kelvin. Okay. So, degree Celsius is a commonly used unit of temperature, and that is in terms of Celsius. Celsius unit. When an object is heated, many changes may take place. Its temperature may rise, it may expand or change state. We will study the effect of heat on different objects in the later sections. Right. So till now we discussed the basics. So this is an important topic, which is measurement of temperature. So this concentrate, okay? So generally, what are the devices that is used to measure temperature?
Thermometer.
You will use a thermometer, right? So what happened? Many physical properties of, so basically thermometer uses this principle, okay? Materials expand on heating. It uses that principle. So as the temperature keeps increasing, you have a mercury thermometer, right? For that, if you see, the level of mercury will keep rising inside. That is how it is designed. Okay. So many physical properties of the materials change significantly with temperature to be used as a basis for constructing thermometer. Okay. The commonly used property is variation of the volume of the liquid with temperature. So generally liquids expand on heating. For example, a common thermometer, the liquid in gas type with which you are familiar, and mercury and alcohol are the liquid used in most of the liquid in glass thermometer. So what generally happens is these liquids, when you try to bring them in contact with your body, you will first keep it at lower temperature. When it comes in contact with the body, the mercury level will slowly start rising, due to which, after which it will stop at a particular point. When it stops at that particular point, it will give you the reading of your body temperature. That is how it is working. Okay. But generally, let's say your body temperature is said to be like, let's say you're not well, and let's say your body temperature is 101. This 101 is measured in what units?
Fahrenheit.
Fahrenheit.
It is Fahrenheit. So it is 101 degrees Fahrenheit. So if I ask you to convert the same thing into Celsius, will you be able to do it?
Yes,
Do you know
sir.
the formula between them? So what is the formula between them? You have something like this: C by 5 is equal to F minus 32 by 9. I don't know if you have seen this. Have you seen this?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Okay, you would have seen it. But if I ask you a question, do you know how it has come? You're sure? Tell me yes. If not, tell me alone. Are you sure? Are you clear with how this has actually come by? This kind of a conversion takes place. Why only C by 5? Why not C by 6? Why only F minus 32? Why not F minus 34? Anything would have happened, right? But there should be a reason behind it. Let's see. That is what this topic is always. This topic is going to tell us. Now listen to this. So how are thermometers calibrated? Means that is how the values are fixed inside the thermometers. Okay, thermometers are calibrated so that the numerical value may be assigned to a given temperature. For the definition of standard scale, you need two fixed reference points. So this is the most important. So there are always two reference points which are fixed. Only then you can bring a comparison between a Celsius scale, Fahrenheit scale, and a Kelvin scale. Okay. Since all the substances change dimensions with temperature, an absolute reference for expansion is not available. However, the next necessary fixed point may be correlated to the physical phenomena that always occur at the same temperature. Okay. So the physical phenomena that occur at same temperature means what they're trying to say in this first point is, did you understand the statement from here to here? So thermometers are calibrated so that the numerical value may be assigned to a given temperature. Okay. So for that, what are they doing? They're taking two fixed values as the reference values. So what are the two fixed values that are considered as reference values? Where there is no change in shape taking place, right? Where there is no change in the state of matter taking place at that particular temperature. And those temperatures are nothing but the ice point and the steam point. Let me explain what this means. See, I have to explain the statement. Okay, listen to this carefully. If you go and take an ice cube, right? If ice is to be formed, generally ice will be at what temperature? If it is in a completely frozen state, what will be the least temperature at which you can find ice? It is going to be
0 degrees.
0 degrees Celsius. Right? It is going to be 0 degree Celsius. Correct? Means the question is, can ice not be present at a lower temperature than this? Can it not exist at minus 5 degrees Celsius, minus 6 degrees? It can exist. Okay. So at the 0 degrees Celsius, let's say you start supplying some temperature, means you start heating this material, means you're giving, you take a lighter and take it closer to the ice. What do you think this temperature will do to this ice? What do you think will temperature do to this ice? So ice is basically in which form? It is the form of solid. So solid has a fixed structure. Now, can I say this temperature that is being supplied will start melting this ice? Guys, are you able to understand what I mean by melting? Like what happens to a candle? when it starts burning, it starts melting, right? In a similar way, ice will start melting in the sense ice will get converted to water form. Now, the question that we need to answer is ice will melt at what temperature? So what are you doing? You're supplying some temperature. So what is expected? The 0°C should slowly rise, no? Means it should become 1°C, 2°C, something like this, because somebody is giving you energy in the form of heat. So what will happen? Your temperature should obviously increase. But what do you think will happen? Guys, participate in the discussion. So what do you think is going to happen? Are you able to hear me? So what will happen is this conversion of ice to liquid will take place at the same temperature. Okay, at least open your mouth and say if you're able to understand or not. Are you able to understand what I'm trying to say? You take an ice cube, which is at 0°C. To that ice cube, what are you doing? You're supplying temperature. Supplying temperature means what you're heating. Take it to a stove. Place it closer to a stove. Okay, by holding tongs. What can you observe? You can see small amount of water droplets coming out. Slowly, depending on how much heat you're supplying. Means what is happening? There is a change in phase taking place. Now, the question is, if you collect that water sample where the ice has got completely converted to water, I'm asking what is going to be the temperature of that liquid? Is it going to be more than 0°C or is it going to be 0°C itself?
More than 0°.
That is what we expect, no. But the truth is, it will be at 0°C only. Okay, that is why if you read the statement, you will understand. For the definition of any standard scale, two fixed reference points are needed. This is the most important. Since all substances change dimensions with temperature, change dimensions means they either expand or compress. At the same time, temperature will also change during this process. An absolute reference for the expansion is not available. However, the necessary fixed points may be correlated toward the physical phenomena that always occurs at the same temperature. So, may be correlated to the physical phenomena that always occurs at the same temperature. So, what is the physical phenomena they're trying to talk about? Solid getting converted to a liquid. There is a change in the physical state. Accepted? And at what temperature is it happening? It is happening at the same 0°C. Now you can ask me a question: what happened to the temperature that you gave? Why didn't the material's temperature increase? Because the heat that you supplied is there. No, that heat helped the solid only to break its bond. It didn't participate in the process of increasing its temperature. And this kind of a heat is what we call it as latent heat. So latent means hidden. About this, we will learn in calorimetry. Guys, are you able to understand why 0°C is taken? Not 0°C mainly. Why the melting point of ice is taken? Right? That is the reason why they use ice point. The same thing will happen for the steam point as well. Steam point means the boiling point. Means you have water, you start supplying temperature. Let's say water is at 30°C already. From 30, what will happen? The water level will raise to 100°C at some point. After it reaches 100°C, the water starts getting converted to steam at the same 100°C. Means what is happening? The liquid form is getting converted to, can you
Vapor.
complete the state? Vapor state at the same temperature. So, though these 2 points are taken, are two convenient fixed points and are known as the freezing and the boiling points. Okay. So these 2 points are the temperature at which pure water freezes and boils under standard pressure. The two familiar temperature scales are the Fahrenheit temperature scale and the Celsius temperature scale. So now it was observed. Listen to this carefully. Now listen to this. If I take a reference point, okay, if I take a graph kind of structure, I'm able to observe that if I call something like this, if I call this as the ice point, and I have a Celsius scale, I have a Fahrenheit scale. So on the Celsius scale, what is going to be the value of ice point? It is going to be 0 degrees Celsius. The same thing you find it on a Fahrenheit scale, it is going to be 32 degrees Fahrenheit. Which point? The ice point. Okay. And what happens to the steam point? Steam point with respect to the Celsius scale is going to be 100 degrees Celsius. Whereas here, what is expected? 0 to 100, what is the difference? 100, right? What will you write? Here, are you going to write 132 degree Fahrenheit? It will be wrong. On the Fahrenheit scale, it is observed that the steam point is 212 degrees Fahrenheit. Are you able to understand this? So, what are the two fixed points we have taken? Ice point and the steam point. Now, understand, they both vary linearly. Okay, the temperature is increased in a linear fashion. So, if I take some point where, I don't know, it is somewhere between the ice point and the steam point, where the temperature is still being supplied. So when the temperature in the Celsius scale, if I call it as C, then the corresponding temperature in Fahrenheit scale, if I call it as F. Since these two are linearly increasing, slope is going to be same for both. Same for both scales. So what I can say is C minus 0 divided by 100 minus 0, that is 100, is equal to F minus 32 divided by 212 minus 32. Okay, C divided by 100 will be equal to F minus 32 divided by 212 minus 32 is going to be 180. 0 and 0 will get cancelled. This will go 5 times and this will go 9 times. That is the reason why C by 5 is equal to F minus 32 divided by 9. Am I clear?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
So please make a note. So there are two ways to understand this. Once I use the word slope, or secondly, what I can say is if you have the divisions here, right? So the divisions which are there should be equivalent. So the distance C minus 0 is the same as distance F minus 32 in the Fahrenheit scale. Similarly, the distance between 100 and 0 should be equal to the distance between 212 and 32. So that way you will get the relation between both. So this might be a 1 mark question. On the Fahrenheit scale, there are 180 equal intervals between the two reference points, and on the Celsius scale, there are 100 fixed points. Okay, that is what they gave as the reference. So if you observe this graph, if at all you have to study this, the coordinate of this point is 0, 32, where 0 is in degree Celsius and 32 is in degree Fahrenheit. And this point is called as the ice point. And here, if you observe the temperature, what is it going to be? 100, 212. And this would be the steam point. Okay. So if you take any other point, which I call it as C, F, now all the three are collinear. You know what happens with respect to a collinear point? What will happen? Their slope is supposed, area is supposed to be 0. Area of the triangle formed by the 3 points is 0. That is one way. Or secondly, you can say that their slope is going to be the same. That is the logic I used. Okay. About ideal gas equation, we'll discuss in the kinetic theory of gases chapter. Now, if values are given in terms of degrees Celsius, how will you convert it to Kelvin? So if you
Plus
observe
272.
the ice point is 0 degrees Celsius in terms of Celsius scale. In terms of Fahrenheit scale, it is 32. In terms of Kelvin scale, it is 273.15. Right. Whereas with respect to steam point, what is going to happen with respect to Fahrenheit scale, it is 12. With respect to Celsius, it is 100. And with respect to Kelvin, it is going to be 373.15. So if the value is given in terms of Celsius, add 273.15 to it to get the value in terms of Kelvin. And remember, Kelvin scale and the Celsius scale both have 100 divisions between the two reference points, whereas in Fahrenheit scale, there are 180 divisions between the two reference points. So having said this, we are ready to see the next part of the chapter, that is thermal expansion. As I told you, ideal gas, we'll discuss it in this thing, kinetic theory of gases. Okay. So listen, if I take a solid, so this mostly happens in the case of utensils. Okay. If I take a solid, a metal solid for that matter, right? If I start supplying heat to it, if it is subjected to temperature, heat, what do you think will happen? So what do you think will happen to it?
It will expand.
So it starts expanding. So this is the first concept. So what happens is solids expand on heating and contract on cooling. Okay. So here when I say thermal expansion, we are going to discuss about the thermal expansion of solids. So they have given an example here. You might have observed that sometimes sealed bottles with metallic lids are so tightly screwed that one has to put the lid in hot water for some time to open the lid. Why are they doing it? Read the statement. You have sealed bottles with metallic lids. Okay. You have a sealed bottle with metallic lids so tightly screwed that one has to put the lid in hot water for some time to open the lid. So this would do what? This would allow the metallic cover to expand, thereby loosening it to unscrew easily. So this is what is going to happen. Okay, this is one of the applications. Let me tell you another thing. What you can see is, let's say you have a ring. Okay, there is a ring into which you have a spherical ball. Let's say it is able to freely move through this ring. Okay. Now, what do you think will happen when you heat this metallic ball and pass through and try to pass through the same ring? You can observe that the ball will get stuck. It will not be able to go to the other side. Right. So this is the concept that is involved in the process of expansion of solids. Now I'm going to get into mathematical details. Please write it down. So what they're trying to say is, when you have a solid and the solid is subjected to temperature, you can say that its dimensions change. So when I say dimensions, it can be length, area, or volume. Okay. Now listen to this carefully. When I talk about linear expansion, so linear expansion is possible for those materials. So I repeat it, linear expansion is possible for those materials whose thickness is ignored. Let's say I take a thin rod whose initial length is L, and on supplying heat, it has elongated by a length of delta L. This is a very, very small parameter. Then what is going to be the total final length? it will be L plus delta L. Okay. So there are certain things that are observed. That is, this is an empirical relation. The final length of the object is observed to be directly proportional to delta T. Okay. Similarly, the final length of the object is observed to be directly proportional to the change in length.
Sir,
Tell me.
sir, if we don't
Sorry.
ignore the breadth in this case,
Mhm.
then
You don't-
it will also change, right?
Area will also change. Breadth will also change. But here, I want only linear expansion. Linear means one dimension. So I will take only those materials which are like this, which are very, very thin. Okay, we are talking. So for the sake of understanding, I drew it like a bar. But understand that we are talking about this kind of a material.
Okay, sir.
Okay. Yes. So I made a mistake, guys. I'm sorry. It is observed that the change in length is directly proportional to the increase in temperature or decrease in temperature, and the change in length is proportional to the initial length. So these are the two important observations that are there. Okay. So these are the two empirical relations. So when I combine both, delta L will be directly proportional to Li into delta T. Okay, let me write it like this. Okay. Now, delta L will be equal to Li into alpha into delta T. Okay. Where this alpha is what is called as coefficient of linear expansion. Right? So delta L is what? It is L final minus L initial is equal to L initial into alpha into delta T, which implies L final will be equal to how much? Li into 1 plus alpha into delta T. So this is the mathematical relation. Means what I'm trying to say is, if you know the initial length and you know the temperature change that has taken place in that particular material, then it is possible for you to calculate the final length, provided you know the coefficient of linear expansion of that material. So that depends on what is the nature of material you use. If you use steel, it has a particular alpha value. If you use aluminum, it has separate value. If you use copper, it has separate value. Something like that. Okay. So please
Sir,
make note of this point. Tell me.
sir, how is delta L proportional
please tell.
to initial length of the rod?
It is observed to be initial proportional to initial. Means, see what they're trying to say is very simple. Okay, I'll try to explain it mathematically. Understand. Now let's say the initial length is 5. Okay. Find the increase in length. Let's say it is 0.1. So what is the mathematical statement they are trying to say? 0.1 is observed to be directly proportional to 5. Correct? That is the meaning of the statement which I wrote here. Is that right or wrong? 0.1 can be any unit. So they are saying 0.1 is directly proportional to 5. So when you remove the constant, you need to introduce some constant into 5, right? So k will be equal to how much? 0.1 divided by 5. So that is what they're trying to say. Means they're trying to say the change in length can always be represented as a multiple of the initial length. That is the meaning
Okay,
of the
sir.
statement. Okay.
Can you also explain the first one?
Which first?
Like the change in length will be proportional to change in temperature.
This one. Change in length is proportional to the initial length.
No, sir, the first one, like change in temperature.
Yeah, change in length is directly proportional to change in temperature, right? If the temperature is increasing, the value of delta L will be positive. If change in length, the temperature is decreasing, change in length will be negative. Means the object will get compressed. Right? That is what the logic is, right?
Okay.
That I told you, right? Solids
Yes.
expand on heating. I have not gotten into the molecular details of it. Now, that was the next question I was about to ask. So I gave you a statement here. Where did I write it? Solids expand on heating. So what is the meaning of expand? Expand means length is increasing or decreasing.
Increases.
Solids expand on heating means it's increasing. Increasing means the change in length is positive. And they contract on what? Cooling. Means its length is going to decrease if the temperature is extracted. Now think about it. Are they directly proportional?
Yes, sir.
So L final will be equal to L initial into 1 plus alpha into delta T. What is the value of alpha, guys?
Sir, I
Don't
have a
forget
doubt.
it. Alpha is called. Tell me.
Sir, if there are two rods of the same material but of different length, and if we heat them at same temperature, so delta L should be same for both of them, right? Or would it be different?
Delta L should be the same. But that no, delta L might be different because see, you're talking about L final. L final. No, they'll be the same term. Logic is very simple. I'll tell you why. Because I was about to define this thing. Alpha is equal to what? L final minus L initial. From here, if I take alpha is equal to L final minus L initial divided by L initial into delta T. Correct?
Yes, sir.
So what is L final minus L initial? It is delta L divided by Li into delta T. Is that clear? So
Yes, sir.
how can I define alpha as? It is the change in length divided by original length into rise in temperature. Okay. So this is the formula. This is the mathematical expression which is known to us. Now let's think of your question. Li is 5. Li is 10. So delta T is 10 degrees Celsius. Delta T is 10 degrees Celsius. Alpha, here also alpha. Because they both are of same material. So alpha is equal to what? Or delta L is equal to what? Li into alpha into delta T. So delta L is directly proportional to Li, right? Now you answer the question which you asked me.
It'll be different, sir.
Yes. So it will be more for the material which has
It'll be more for
initial-
5, sir.
think about it. Delta L, right? Delta L is directly proportional to Li. So greater is the initial and greater is going to be the expansion.
Yes, sir. Sorry, sir. Then it'll be 10. It'll be 10.
Okay. So this is what happens with respect to a linear material. But before that, this is also an important formula which I want you guys to make a note of. So alpha is equal to how much? Change in length divided by the original length into rise in temperature. Okay. So what is going to be the SI unit for it? It will be Kelvin inverse, and the CGS unit is going to be degree Celsius inverse.
Sir, could you scroll up for a minute?
Sure. Guys, is it clear? Right. Next part you guys are going to answer. So this is with respect to a one-dimensional object. Now what will happen with respect to a two-dimensional object? Two-dimensional object. What will happen? So two-dimensional object is going to have surface increase or decrease, right? Now, if I have the initial area of the material to be A naught and the temperature supplied is delta T, okay? Now, what can I call it as? The increase in area is observed to be directly proportional to delta T, and the increase in area is observed to be directly proportional to initial area. So delta A will be equal to AI into, I'll not use alpha now, I will use beta into delta T. And this kind of an expansion is called as superficial expansion, right? But what is delta A? A final minus A initial is equal to A initial into beta into delta T, which implies A final will be equal to A initial into 1 plus beta into delta T. Okay, is it clear?
Sir, for the one dimension, when the material undergoes compression also.
Yes, can no. Provided you extract heat. See, if you want to visualize it, let's say you have an iron rod in your hand. You would have seen the small pillars and all, right? During construction, there'll be small rods kept like this,
Yes.
right? You take, let's say, one of the pillars, small piece you take, which is going to look like this, where you're ignoring the thickness. Let's say you're heating this material will start expanding. What you do, you take this and put it into water. You will hear some hissing sound. At that time, what will happen is the material will get compressed as well. Have you ever seen material shrinking at a sudden cooling thing? See, I'll give you another example. You know Coke, you have these Coke tins, right?
Yes, sir.
You have these Coke tins. Let's say you have a burner and you're heating this material slowly. What are you doing? You're heating this material slowly, so its volume will increase. Now, what do you think will happen if you suddenly put it into water? You can observe that its shape will completely change and it will shrink. Okay, why is it happening? Because of the process of cooling.
Sir, so it is the same phenomena while bursting crackers if we put that in water.
In what bursting in water in the sense?
Like while bursting crackers, like
Okay, you burst it. That water is there. Where is the cracker now? Is it inside the water like this?
yes, sir.
You're burning it
If
from
we
here.
immerse this fully,
Sorry,
if we immerse,
but if you immerse fully, I don't think you can light it up now because it needs a spark to burst. There it is sudden expansion, that is completely different. Here, what are we trying to say? We are slowly, gradually increasing the temperature of the material, right? So this is a completely different scenario. When you can only burst it in this way because you need some spark for the thread to go. Only then it can go and supply to the chemical which is present inside, and that chemical will blast. Maybe the water splashing will happen, but it is not the same principle.
yeah, fine.
Okay. So I hope you understood what is superficial expansion, everyone. In a similar way,
Yes,
the
sir.
third one is called as cubical. Third one is called as cubical expansion. So cubical, as the name suggests, cube is the material So let's say initial volume of the material is V naught. Okay, you supply temperature to this material. So what will happen? The solid will again expand on heating. So the change in volume is observed to be directly proportional to the change in temperature, and delta V is observed to be directly proportional to the initial volume. So delta V will be equal to what? Vi into, this time it is going to be gamma into delta T, where gamma is called as the coefficient of cubical expansion. Clear? So delta V will be equal to V final minus V initial is equal to V initial into gamma into delta T, which implies V final will be equal to V initial into 1 plus gamma delta T. Right? Now, I forgot this thing. If I have to define beta, can you tell me what is going to be the definition of it in terms of words?
Change in
Change in-
area divided by initial area into temperature. Change in
Perfect. Initial area to, generally it is, see, generally the word we use is beta is for coefficient of superficial expansion is what they use. That is why if you see in some books, instead of change in temperature, they would have mentioned rise in temperature. But it's more appropriate to go with change in temperature. Okay, similarly, what is gamma going to be? Change in volume divided by initial volume into change in volume. Sorry, change in temperature. And another important point that you need to notice, the SI unit and CGS unit of alpha, beta, and gamma are the same. Okay. Next is relation between alpha, beta, and gamma for an isotropic material. I'll explain what is isotropic. Okay. Isotropic means the material which exhibits the same kind of a property in all the axes. So isotropic means material exhibiting same property in all directions. Okay, this is the meaning of isotropic. Okay, is it clear? Guys, yes or no? Clear?
Sir, can you give an example for it?
Example, there is nothing. See, if you take, I'm coming to that. There is no example as such. Generally, you define materials as isotropic and as anisotropic. See, I'll tell you what it means. If I take a cube, okay. Just now we learned if you start supplying temperature to it, start supplying means raising its temperature of the material. What will happen to it? Its volume will increase. Accepted? Correct? Volume delta V will increase. When I say volume, there should be an increase in area as well. See, for example, if I take this base area, if I take the base area and multiply it with this height, that is going to give me the volume. So base area should also increase. If base area is increasing, length should also increase. Am I clear with these three words, these three terminologies? Right, I'm saying volume is increasing. When volume is increasing, its area, the area of each surface is increasing, and the length of each side is increasing. Accepted? When that is going to be the case,
Yes,
now the question is, volume can increase in such a way that the phase number 1 is having a greater elongation compared to phase number 2. Phase is FAC. So cube has 6 faces. So I'm taking the first face to be the bottom and the second face to be the top surface. So what I'm trying to say is volume can increase in such a way that the area can expand unevenly and the length can increase unevenly. Means this side increment can be less and this side increment can be more, and it can expand like this also. Are you able to understand? Look at the shape. So here it was a cube, a perfect cube that I consider. Now is it a cube? It is not. And it is still a three-dimensional shape. So if I ask you a question, has the volume increased? Yes, your answer is going to be yes. But if I put a question, has it increased uniformly? Your answer is no. So this is not an isotropic material.
Sir,
Guys, are you? Tell me.
sir, but if we keep on heating, then after a point, it will become uniform, right?
No, uniform in the sense, if you keep on heating means I don't want a place where this kind of a scenario is occurring. Means that is occurring, that kind of a material is anisotropic. I'm not concerned about it. I'm concerned only about isotropic. Okay. I don't want a particular stage where it is attained. I want it to happen at every stage of expansion. Means at random point, if I'm stopping the experiment, I want a perfect expansion. Only those kind of materials I call it as isotropic. Is it clear? I explained it in a simpler language. Is it clear? I tried it. Are you guys clear with
Sir?
what I'm? Please tell me.
Sir, in this case, we are heating from one side. That's why that side is getting expanded ununiformly. But if we heat from all the sides, like with same temperature, then like no matter which material, it will expand uniformly, right?
It can happen or it cannot happen. Depends on the nature. Depends on the nature. You cannot say. Whether you supply it uniformly or ununiformly, like however you're going to do it, there is a possibility that the material will not expand uniformly. But
Okay,
the concern here is not how you are supplying heat. The concern is you're supplying heat and what do you want to attain? I only try to explain the difference between what is an isotropic and anisotropic. I'm not even talking about the point of how I'm supplying heat. Try to understand. So you're confusing between both. Okay. My question is not about how you supply heat. So somebody asked me what is an isotropic material, sir? What do you mean by materials exhibiting same property in all directions? Mean my answer is it should have a uniform expansion in all the directions. For that, it is in your hand. You supply heat however you want. That is your headache. But my question is, I'm only concerned about whether that material is having a uniform expansion or not. And I'm going to derive the relation between alpha, beta, and gamma only for those materials which exhibit same property. So that is what is collectively called as an isotropic material. Are you able to understand? I'm restricting my discussion to what is an isotropic material. I'm not concerned about the way heat is supplied. Okay. So having said this, what is going to happen is, can I say V final is equal to V initial into 1 plus gamma into delta T? Correct?
Sir,
Hmm.
sir, so for isotropic material, will the density decreases uniformly?
That we are not concerned. I didn't speak about density at all.
Sir, so all properties means
You're saying density will decrease, sir? Yes, density will decrease uniformly. Why? Because density is equal to mass by volume. Unless there is a loss of material, I can say density is inversely proportional to V. So delta rho is inversely proportional to delta V. So if delta V is uniform, delta rho will also be uniform.
okay.
Okay, V final is equal to V initial into 1 plus gamma into delta T. Let me call this as equation number 1. If I take any side, A final will be equal to A initial into 1 plus beta into delta T. Guys, wait for 5 minutes. I'll complete this topic, then you can leave. A final will be equal to A initial into 1 plus beta delta T. If I take any length L final will be equal to L initial into 1 plus alpha into delta t, where alpha, beta, and gamma are the coefficients of linear expansion, superficial expansion, and cubical expansion for the same cubical material that you have taken. Okay. Now listen to this carefully. A final, can I write it as L final square is equal to L initial square? Sorry. So what is A final? L final square. So what is L final square? It is Li into 1 plus alpha into delta t, the whole square, which will be Li square into 1 plus alpha square delta t square plus 2 times alpha into delta t. Guys, are you able to understand what I did? Simple math. Right? Here, remember, alpha, beta, and gamma are very, very small. So generally, what will happen is these coefficient values will be very, very small. How I can show is, look at these values. They're in terms of 10 power minus 5. Okay. Generally, they are very, very small. When they are going to be very, very small, alpha square, beta square, and gamma square can be approximated to 0. If that is the case, this will be 0. So it will become Li square into 1 plus 2 alpha into delta t. Let this be equation number 2. Okay. Instead of equation number 2, I'll make this simple. So what is Li square? It is going to be A initial into 1 plus times alpha into delta t. Let me call this as equation number 2. So this is A final. Are you guys able to understand what I'm trying to say? So what is volume final for a cube? It is L final the whole cube, that is Li into 1 plus alpha into delta t, the whole cube, which is going to be Li cube into 1 plus alpha cube delta t the whole cube plus 3 times alpha delta t the whole square plus 3 alpha square delta t.
Sir, so these equations are only for a cube, right?
Yes, these are only for a cube. That is why I considered a cube. Okay. So 3 alpha square delta t is going to give you a 0. Alpha cube delta t cube is going to give you a 0. Alpha delta t. Yes. So it will be Li cube into 1 plus 3 times alpha into delta t square. Did I make a mistake? 3a square b plus, oh sorry, 3 alpha delta t. Three a square b plus 3 alpha square delta t square. This is the equation. So a cube plus b cube plus 3a square b plus 3ab square. Right? Li cube into 1 plus 3 alpha delta t. But what is Li cube? Li
Sir,
cube is,
won't it be 3 alpha square delta t and then 3 alpha delta t square?
no. This is A, this is B, no. For A cube plus
Okay,
B
sir. Okay,
cube.
sir. Got it, sir.
Got it, right?
Yes, sir.
Yes. So 3 alpha delta t. So this is going to be equation number 3. Okay. So if I do a comparative study between, okay, this is 4 then, I'm sorry. This is 4 and this is going to be 5. If I do a comparison between, I don't know, it is not going. If I do a comparison between 1 and 5, V final is equal to V initial into 1 plus gamma delta t is 1. V final is equal to V initial into 1 plus 3 alpha delta t is 5. If I do a comparative study, what will I get gamma as? Gamma will be 3 alpha. In a similar way, if I do a comparative study between 2 and 4, A final will be equal to A initial into 1 plus beta delta t, and A final in this case will be A initial into 1 plus 2 alpha delta t. So if I do a comparative study, what do I get? Beta will be equal to 2 alpha. So alpha is to beta is to gamma will be equal to alpha is to beta is 2 times alpha and gamma is 3 times alpha. So what do you get? 1 is to 2 is to 3. So this is the relation between alpha, beta, and gamma for which kind of a material? For an isotropic material.
Can you scroll?
Yeah. So for time being, what you can do is I'll keep it like this. Just take a screenshot. Just take a screenshot because we don't have time. I have another class. So just take a screenshot. In tomorrow's class, you copy it before tomorrow's class.
Okay, sir.
Okay, take a
Thank you,
screenshot
sir.
of this page also.
Taken.
Done? Okay, that's it. So I'll see you all tomorrow.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you,
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.